This is Fowl Players Radio, your podcast for arts, entertainment, and pop culture. Welcome. My name is Michael Spedden, your host. Every episode features fun, fascinating stories about people in the performing arts, actors, authors, dancers, writers, musicians, athletes, you name it. Folks who are center stage, backstage, on camera, or behind the scenes. Sit back and listen. Let's have some fun. Fowl Players Radio is a proud production of the Fowl Players Group and the official podcast of the Fowl Players of Perryville.
Hey, you guys, this is Gina Shock, drummer of the Go-Go's.
Snowman here.
Hey, Mary Jo Peel here.
Hi, this is Kathy Ladman.
Hi, this is Jay Nedry from the Road Dogs.
This is A.D. Adams, and you are tuned in to Fowl Players Radio with your host, Michael Spedden.
And hello, folks. Michael Spedden here. Tonight's guest on Fowl Players Radio is Thanis Akritidis of the Melbourne Australia band Frozen Tears. They've just released an album, Silence of the Night, and we've been playing their new single, Fear the Fire, on 97 Underground. We had a great time. We really had a good time talking. We talked about the Melbourne Australia scene. We swapped stories between the things I experienced playing here in the United States and him playing in Australia and other places. We talked about their new album and other albums that they've had, musical influences, and much, much more. Links to their music and merch can be found on Facebook. They have facebook.com/Frozen Tears Australia. Their music and other merchandise can be found on online platforms such as Amazon, iTunes, and Spotify. If you are interested in professional comedic entertainment for your venue or fundraiser or other event, please consider a murder mystery from the Fowl Players of Perryville. For bookings and other information, please call 443-600-0446. Email foulplayersperryville@yahoo.com. Our website is foulplayersofperryville.com. Don't miss the Back of the Rack, the Michael Spedden Show on 97underground.com, Baltimore's pure rock worldwide, where we feature songs you forgot you liked, current and classic local rock, hard rock, and metal classics that never die, and up-and-coming bands. Tune in every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Listen on your computer or download the app so you can listen everywhere you go. 97underground.com. We at Fowl Players Radio are proud to support artists, and we encourage you to consider shopping small and supporting them as well. Links to their books, albums, tickets to their shows, and other items can be found in the show notes of every episode. We thank you again for tuning in and listening. Remember, you can help us greatly by clicking the like and subscribe buttons wherever you listen or watch, and give us a fair review. Our main website is foulplayersradio.com. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/@foulplayersradio. We'll be right back with Thanis from Frozen Tears right after these words.
Hi, this is Bud Becker.
Hi, everybody. Dwight Weems from Gaz the Fun Band.
Hi, folks. This is Jay David.
Hey, this is Brian Damage from Kicks and Rhino Bucket.
Hi, this is Kim of Kim's Crypt.
Hello, my name is Gunhild Carling.
Hi, this is Paul Castiglia, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio, the one-stop shop for all your pop culture needs.
And welcome back to another episode of Fowl Players Radio. Michael Spedden here, and today we have a guest from down under. We have Thanis Akritidis from Frozen Tears here, a great band from Australia. I've gotten familiar with their material a little bit in recent months, working with 97 Underground and playing their material on the air. And you get introduced to one song, you listen to another, you end up absorbing the whole album. You end up taking a couple of extra miles the long way home from the grocery store, so you can listen to it on the way home. To get more and more of it in. And it's just great stuff. And I highly recommend Frozen Tears. So, Thanis, great to have you, bud. Great to have you.
Thank you. And great to be here.
So, like I said, I've just really been enjoying listening to your material and everything. And, we've been talking a good bit about, influences, things that we like growing up. And I think you and I, even though we're from an entire, I guess, almost the whole diameter of the world apart, I think we're brothers or we're related somehow, because it sounds like just about everything that you've been talking about that you liked growing up and enjoyed listening to and had an influence on you, the same with me. the same with me. So tell us about, your Frozen Tears, the project Frozen Tears. You've been doing this for quite a while now, going back to the
Yeah.
90s, right?
Yeah. We've been going on since probably mid 90s, and we released an album called Silence of the Night in 97, which, we got some pretty good favorable reviews, and like if you think about an independent release, we had a predominantly very much a European sort of not so much feel, but a lot of European fans loved our music because it's more like what they call AOR, hard rock.
Yes,
And
yes, I agree.
then obviously we also had a fair few US fans, and slowly but surely we didn't split up, but we after a few live dates and what have you, and we basically got married and had kids, and still wrote tunes together with me and John, who is the guitarist, songwriter, keyboardist, you name it. He does everything. He's jack of all trades. But we decided, funnily enough, in the COVID era, to release a new album and do the songs that we'd written in that time of space that we were sort of barren in releasing a second album. And it's probably the best thing we ever did, because not only did those songs come out exactly how we wanted them to, that the album, worldwide has had some great reviews, and that's the Brazen Whisperer album, which was our second album. And as you're aware, we had some quite a bit of success in your station 97 Underground's playing of the tunes on that album, which there was three songs that went in their top 10 playlist, which was by far amazing for us. And we also had not only those three songs, but we did a cover of a Kiss tune called "Come On and Love Me," which is a classic 75 Kiss tune, and the amount of stations that played that tune was just beyond our wildest dreams. And for me, being a major Kiss fan, the fact that Kiss fans loved that tune, the way we did it, we sort of did it pretty raw sounding, tried to make it almost feel like a live Kiss Alive, but in our sort of formula, and it came out great. And then we were played all around the world, as I told you, like anywhere from Holland to Germany to Sweden. We had major airplay in Sweden, Scotland, England. Funnily enough, probably the least played we've been is in Australia, because the type of music that we do play is more conducive to around the world rather than our local area, because the local scene is not the greatest, and it's probably not dead, but it's very hard to try and promote yourself as a melodic hard rock band in Melbourne, Australia, as if we were in Europe.
Right.
We'd be looked at a lot higher in regard, which we have been, because the amount of airplay and interviews and what have you have been phenomenal from overseas, rather than a local scene, which has been a lot more minimal.
Right. Well, something too, and it's interesting that you say that, because I've had a number of acts on that are in you could kind of say like in the same kind of family or genre as Frozen Tears. I've had Joel Hoekstra on from Whitesnake Trans-Siberian Orchestra, his own band, Joel Hoekstra's 13.
Yeah, I love him. I love that album. It's great.
Jeff Scott Soto.
Another great guy.
Another great one. And there's a huge demand for that. There's, that label Frontiers Records over there.
Yep.
And it just goes to show you too, I've been around in the last number of years. I've seen Judas Priest twice. Firepower album, they've come around twice with that, and they're coming around again soon. With Saxon. Now, Saxon, when they come here, they're playing clubs that maybe fit 200-300 people. Saxon back home in Europe, they're still playing stadiums. And big festivals and everything. And it's the same with a lot of these other, it's almost like, that kind of stuff just never fell out of favor over there, and I can see your material, having listened to it, knowing the genre that it is, being very popular in Europe, which is a great thing.
Yeah. We've sold a fair few copies in Europe. Our last release, Brazen Whisper, sold very, very much pretty healthy in overseas, and especially in England and that. Whereas, so much so that, as you're aware, we've just re-released our debut album, which was in demand because people couldn't buy the original version of it anymore.
Yeah.
So what we had done is we've remixed and remastered our Silence of the Night album, which was our debut album. And it's almost like a new album because it's completely different sounding to the original version. The songs are the same, but we've gone in and touched up everything as far as maybe the guitar tones and sounds. There's only been additional stuff put, like guitar and maybe a little bit of extra keyboard, but nothing else has been altered.
Right.
The vocals have been mixed a bit better, and the drum sounds 10 times better. And it's almost like a follow-up to Brazen Whisper, rather than Brazen Whisper being a follow-up to Silence of the Night. And we had a new tune, completely new tune, which is Feel the Fire, which has been very, very well appreciated at the moment worldwide. In England, we had a mammoth review by one of the people there, Iridium. He gave us such a great review. It just baffles me that, every time we release something there, this gentleman says exactly how we feel that we want people to listen to it. And without speaking to someone like yourself, for instance, they tell us exactly how we wanted the song to sound. And, and you can only be so thankful that people actually listen to something and then they get it. And I think you even come across feeling the same way, and you don't understand. And I'm not saying it because I'm speaking with you. You don't understand how much it means to us to have people appreciate stuff that we do and understand it in the way that we wanted to portray it. You know what I mean? Very important to us. So it's humbling, really. I mean, I'm very, very appreciative of you having us on. And
sure.
And it's a band out of Melbourne, Australia, which is a great place to live and what have you. But as far as our rock scene goes, it's not the greatest, not as healthy as it used to be back in the 80s, in the mid 80s and late 80s.
Yep. So and getting to what you were saying here, just to track back a little bit here, I'm very happy for you that, you are getting great feedback all around the world on this here. Just speaking from my own experience, it's difficult enough to get people that to get it, what you're doing sometimes, and, friends and everybody else to really understand and appreciate it, but, that's really got to be something, to have people give you good feedback, even halfway around the world from you, So Melbourne was the around where you've lived and where you've, performed and everything here. So what was it like years ago performing in Melbourne? You said it's kind of changed. It was great at one point, but it's kind of changed.
Yeah, I mean, look, we could go and do a show. And we used to run our own show at stages back in the mid to late 80s. And we could easily easily get from 700 to 1,000 people at a show.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, in all honesty, an unsigned band that is an independent band having a following like that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, on a regular basis, it wasn't, 500 people, 800 people, having sort of like combined, like 3 or 4 bands on a bill, and you're having, upwards of 1,500 to 2,000 people at times. I mean, these were regular occurrences. And even playing to places where you had only 200 people there, but the buzz was there. It was just there, and it was so exciting to play that scene then.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't have to go far. I mean, that our rock scene here in Australia, yielded bands like In Excess and AC/DC, and there's so many great bands that came out of Australia and out of the shitty scenes that we had here. And it was a great breeding ground, because a lot of those bands, ended up being phenomenons, overseas, and, we're not to that level, but the fact that our scene back then was a true scene where people were appreciated for the effort and that sort of street sense, that made bands like I said, like AC/DC and In Excess and Skyhooks. You might not have heard of Skyhooks, but they were a big band here too. There's a band called Angel City, which you probably, they call the Angels in Australia, but they were called Angel City in America because they couldn't have the same name as, remember the band Angel?
Oh yeah, they're from not far from me. Yeah, they're like a Washington,
the band that was on
area.
the same label as Kiss.
Great
So they had to be called Angel City. Now they're phenomenal, right? And bands like Great White did 2 covers of their songs. That's how brilliant they were, right? And there was a great scene because it was a genuine scene. It wasn't manufactured, so to speak. And there was healthy, as in that there was young bands always coming up, and it was encouraged. There was always people willing to take on new bands and have them play their venues. And then alternatively, if someone big came to town, you might have been lucky enough to get an opening slot. But now it's there's so many places that originally were like that have closed, and you really struggle to have many venues that would that obviously they play by numbers. If you don't sell tickets and people don't drink the booze and what have you, you are not going to be a very happy. You're not going to be basically asked to come back there. So it's, and I'm sure it's similar there where you are, because I hear from a lot of my friends that a lot of the rock venues struggle to stay open because of the so-called great minds that think that volume of people drinking booze and what have you is more important than people coming to see genuine live music.
Right. It's a that has been out there. That's probably an older question or a bigger situation than the chicken and the egg. What came first? It's there's always, that's always been going on. The people are there and they're drinking, but there's no money. What happened? Or you've got to draw money, or is it the band's responsibility or the venue's responsibility to promote? I mean, I don't know what it was like for you coming up. But I remember performing in clubs, on the East Coast of, United States, the Mid-Atlantic region where I'm from, which is basically New York to the north, Philly, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C., Virginia to the south. I'm not exactly sure how familiar you are with that, but it's like the East Coast.
I got an idea. Yep.
The East Coast. And, if you were going to play, back in those days, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was no email. You were out there pounding the pavement, attracting people to your show. That meant you were putting together every nickel, every dime
Yeah.
that you had, making flyers, putting
Flyers,
together every
good old
nickel,
flyers. Yep.
every nickel and dime that you had, making copies, going out, handing them to people in the club, and they better have seen you out there. That was expected. If you weren't out there doing that, you had no chance. And
Yeah.
but that's what made the scene that I came from so magical in those days, because it was a community. We were getting out there, we were meeting people. People got to know you, the people that came out to see you. I mean, you would know the people that came to see you. People would bring their friends, and it was a great, great time,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
hand that, and I'll just tell you a little bit of a story here. I know this is your show, but I'll just indulge a little bit here.
I know, I'm happy to hear.
Yep.
I'm a fan as well. Don't worry.
Well, thank you. But I stopped playing for a while, around 94, to just kind of get my life and my act together, because I wouldn't finish college. I wasn't, get myself a job, a house, and stabilize myself, and then so around 04, I started again, and I had an acoustic duo. It was just two guitars, because one thing I vowed that when I got back into music, I'm not dealing with a bunch of coconuts anymore. And five chefs spoils the soup, so we kept it at two. And we got out there and we started playing again. But I would go to the clubs in 05, back when MySpace was starting and everything, with flyers. And I'd walk in and hand people flyers, and they're like, "What the hell is this?" It's a flyer. We have a show. So you read it. Oh, what is what? I don't understand. I said, I have a show here and I would like you to come. So this is a flyer that I'm giving you to tell you about it. I don't want that, or you go out and you, that changed during that time. And I think it takes, and I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, performing now, the show isn't about people focusing on the band. People are more about taking pictures of themselves with the band in the background. I mean, not just to show that they saw the band.
Short attention span. That's what it is.
Short attention spans. And it's more that it's all about them, and the band is more something in the background. They're the star of the evening. That mentality has come in somehow. Do you agree?
100%. 100%. I mean, and it's just the way of the society these days. I mean, I don't have to go far. I can tell you, my son.
Mm-hmm.
We went and saw Motley Crue and Def Leppard Tuesday night here in Melbourne. They had a stadium show here.
Mm-hmm.
They had about 35,000 people, and he was on his phone while he was watching the TV, and I'm going, "What are you doing, mate?" I go, he's going, "I'm just, checking. I took a photo of the band and put it on, and I wanted to see." I go, "Mate, take the phone, put it in your pocket, and continue watching them." He goes, "I am, Dad." I'm like, it's just the way people are these days. Like, I love my phone too. I muck around too, but there's a time to stop it and the time not to. And you just mentioned that it's the attention span of people these days is really, really changed compared to our days, where we'd go to a show and we wouldn't worry about taking photos or putting phones up or whatever. We'd just stay and take it in and appreciate it for what it was. Whereas now, it's just the amount of phones that I saw out there, and photos, and you just said it, selfies with the band in the background. It was so evident. It was amazing.
Right. And another thing too, and I don't know if this was your experience, because I'm not exactly sure. Like, was Melbourne a major entertainment center in Australia?
Well,
it is.
I'll tell you now, Melbourne is the best, the most. When bands come to Melbourne, they always do multiple shows. In Australia, they always do multiple shows in Melbourne. If Melbourne is one of the places, like, I'll give you an example. Kiss would come to Australia. They'll do 3 nights in Melbourne, 1 night in all the other cities, and maybe 2 nights in Sydney if they were lucky.
Okay.
But in Melbourne, they cannot play here unless they do. They will fill 3 nights at a 15,000 seat venue.
Okay.
Because Melbourne loves their live music and loves, their bands and what have you, and also their sports as well. We're a really unique city in that sense. We love our live bands. We appreciate our live music. And it's probably going contrary to what I was just telling you. We do appreciate it when big bands come here and play, and we flock out to see them. But we also are very sports minded. We've got some great venues here. We've got one of the biggest stadiums in the world here, the MCG. 100 odd thousand people it holds, and it's a really good venue. And we've got other major districts, like if you watch the tennis, the Australian Open, which is one of the big 5 Grand Slams, it's probably the best in the world, right? It's in Melbourne. It's in the heart. It's only up the road from me, 15, 20 minutes. So we are very, very much an entertainment type of city.
Right. See, because what I was kind of getting at is like where I'm from originally in Baltimore, a lot of my playing was in Baltimore and Washington, D.C. They're only 40 miles. I guess that's what, maybe 100 kilometers apart, if that's what you understand. You use that.
40 miles is about 75K. Yeah.
Okay. So they're close together. They're the same size, pretty much, roughly 500, 600,000 people. And there were good clubs there. But the thing was like, that's almost like, it was like the next step was New York. Okay. New York, 8 million people. Okay. Clubs, huge clubs like crazy. Record companies were up there. A&R reps were up there. So it was almost like playing in Baltimore and DC. I mean, the people down here loved it. There were bands down here that were huge, but you went to New York to find your fame and fortune. Okay. You played down here to entertain. You went up there to showcase and to try to get, signed or whatever it was. And whenever, we would play, whenever a band from here would get an opportunity, I can remember playing at CBGB's in the early 90s.
Yeah. I know the place. Yep.
Yeah. I played there. And whenever a band got a chance to perform at a club like that up there, the show that they had down here before they went up there was almost like a bon voyage party. And I don't know if you remember if that's a thing. And when I was growing up, my grandparents, especially my grandparents' generation, whenever they would take a trip, like a cruise, or if they would go to Europe or somewhere, or Hawaii, they would have a bon voyage party before they go, a party before they actually went. And that's what it was like here. And a lot of times there were car caravans driving, 180 miles from Baltimore up to New York City, for the shows. And, so there's a lot of support going up there and everything. It was almost like a Friars Club atmosphere here for people to get that opportunity. Even though there was a little bit of, that guy's not that good, out in the crowd, but there was a brotherhood amongst the scene.
You'll always have that kind of scenario, the knockers are always going to be there, but you know what, the people, for every one knocker, there's about 10 more people that appreciate what you're doing.
Yes, yeah.
And that's what makes it a lot more worthwhile.
Yep. But I got to tell you, I mean, in Melbourne, you performed in Melbourne, obviously, and you're still there. Some other places. Tell me about some of the. I'm sure you did a lot of clubs and things like that over time. Tell me some about. I'll tell you some of mine.
The venues, there was some. We actually back in the day we used to hire out halls, the old high school halls.
Yeah.
Which used to fill out, have 1,500 people halls, right? Which fill. And we used to organize it. Funnily enough, my brother and John and his brother used to have a youth type club, and they used to know that we'd guarantee that we'd have at least 700 to 800 people there, guaranteed, right? Because it was a very popular type of night. And the stage was amazing. It was a nice big stage, and it was at a good level, and the lighting was good. And sometimes we'd bring extra lighting in, and obviously mixing sound boards and what have you. So the cost to run that used to be high, but if you brought in, say 800 people, you'd maybe make a profit, like a reasonable profit. And and the more people you got, obviously, the bigger profit we made. And then the next time we'd make it an even more exciting show, and we might have a bit of alcohol, which we needed to get a license for and what have you. And then, you always had we had sort of venues, and I'm sure you had them back in your way, that weren't big venues, but they were always the type of venues that even big bands like, you could even go as far as, Rolling Stones or someone would come in and do like a sideshow there, and no one would know who they are, and then bang, like a 700 or 800 seat venue, but it's a classic place that, like Whiskey A Go Go, just so you know. So we had a place here called Billboard, right, which was very popular. Okay, and then there was another place called the Armadale Hotel, which was another popular venue, which we played, and we had a very good show there. I remember vividly. With Frozen Tears, we did a show there, and it was, initially the support band used to, we used to try and get support bands, and they'd tell us, we'll bring about 50 people, or this and that, and no worries. And then in the end, they'd probably bring 5 to 8 people. And I'll never forget that one day this band we were lucky to even have 8 people, and then. By the start of our gig, I look up and the place was full, and it was so exciting because people really got into our album, and we sound a bit more punchier live, Frozen Tears. We're it's funny, we sound edgy now, but I reckon we're a lot more edgier live, and you probably know, being a muso yourself, that sometimes singing live or playing live, it's just a little more fulfilling, so to speak. And your sound is a lot more, has a lot more depth to it when you play live, right? And look, again, I'll go back to Kiss. Look at what happened with Kiss. They released 3 albums, but they didn't feel like they had the sound that they wanted until they released a live, and then that bit basically represented exactly what Kiss sounded like, right? And yes, we know that part of it was enhanced in the studio, but who cares? Because look how it sounded, and it sold like 10 million copies, worldwide, because that's exactly what Kiss wanted to sound like. So we're the same. We sound a lot more powerful live. Some of our tunes, like Letdown, one of the tracks on the new version of Silence of the Night, that's got so much power live. When you listen to it, you just think, whoa, and that normally used to be our opening track. But now that we've had the luxury of releasing a second album, Brazen Whisper, we have to contemplate what we're going to start off with live, because we've got Brazen Whisper itself as a very popular opening tune. So we've got a dilemma now with the 2 CDs, what kind of set list we'd play live in order to promote what we want to sound like,
Right. Are you planning on touring?
Well, it's funny. Some people said if we were interested in going to overseas to tour, like the UK, we can get you onto some bills and stuff like that. I'll be realistic with you. We've John, for instance, has got a very young family.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
John's a lot younger than me. Oh, not a lot younger, maybe 4 years younger than me, but he obviously started a family a little later than what I did. And he's got 3 kids, under the age of 9 years old, and it's pretty hard. So to think about wanting to come and play a live show overseas, it would have to be, maybe, don't get me wrong, we'd both love to come over because I think it'd be great. But the thing is, if we did something like that, I think it'd be a short thing, maybe 3 dates within a week, and then fly back home. Because we're not, let's face it, we're not. We're in our 50s, and we're not spring chickens. Had I been in my 30s, wouldn't even think about it twice. But
right.
Probably not at the moment. But that's not to say we won't, and that's not to say that it won't happen. No, far from it. But at the very moment, I'd say it'll be a little bit tough to do it right now.
Sure, I understand, and I totally get it. Being men of a certain age, we kind of where you are in life right now, because there are a lot of the bands that are still together. A lot of them are not like doing things where they're touring and going from city to city 4 or 5 nights a week. What they're doing is they're booking a weekend, whether it be a rock festival,
the fly-in dates,
fly-ins, right? That kind of thing. Well, I'll tell
and
you,
we're so far away,
right.
Like if we were only a couple of hours away, or even 4 hours away, it wouldn't be an issue. I haven't got an issue with that whatsoever. But we haven't got the luxury of flying to another country and playing there, and then flying back home. You obviously know I'm flying over to your end of the woods next Friday.
Right.
So that's going to be a 17-hour straight flight. So it's not an easy flight. It's a direct flight from Sydney right through to, because I'm flying from Melbourne to Sydney, and then a 1 hour layoff, and then from Sydney straight to New York is 17 straight hours. So it's obviously a tough flight.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you lost me at 17-hour flight, because I'll tell you something. I don't know, you can't see it being on camera with me here. I'm 6'6", and I'm about the size of an average National Football League player. And to sit on a plane seat for 17 hours, you may as well crush me inside of an Iron Maiden, because that's what it would be like for me. And be leg cramp city there. But it's I would do it sometime. But that's the thing. I mean, Australia, you're just there's a lot of ocean between us and you. And there certainly is. Yep. There was a couple of other clubs, that I wanted to tell you about. This one here. Washington and Baltimore, very close together, same size of the cities, but in a lot of ways, 2 completely different animals. Baltimore was a lot more homogenous. In other words, Baltimore was a blue collar city. Hair bands. Washington, D.C. was more of a college town, more artsy. Not to say that there aren't colleges in Baltimore, but much more of a college. And down in Baltimore, one of my criticisms of the scene back then, and I've said this, and people have agreed with me, was that the bands sounded good, they looked good, but they would not know originality, or a lot of people weren't very daring to do their own thing. They wouldn't know originality if it smacked them in the face with a shovel. Okay. Washington, D.C. was a lot more open, a lot more free form, a lot more, hey, whatever floats your boat, come on down and do it. So the band I was in would play down there a good amount. And there was a club called the 15-Minute Club down there, 15th and K. And that's the corner where all the senators get caught with hookers. And so I had to walk out to the van. I left my tuner out there. So I walk out front. And every 10 feet, I thought I walked onto the set of a 70s, pimp movie. Okay. Because every 10 feet was a hooker, dressed in fishnets, mini skirt. The pimp was with them with the big hat and the feathers sticking out of it, the big fur coats. And I was like, where the hell am I? I just walked outside to get my tuner, and I thought I walked onto a movie set. And so we go, I was like, geez. So we went back in and we started playing, and the stage was wide, it wasn't deep. So we kind of pretty much had to play side by side instead of like the normal band formation, and just a big white wall behind us. There was no light show. What they did is they showed the movie The Fantastic Planet behind us on a projector, and that was our light show. Wild show that night. It was really cool, you know.
Yeah, it's you know, in the memory of our shows here in Melbourne, there was some great memories, and you know, seeing bands as well, certain bands in certain venues. It was like I said, I'm thinking back now while I'm speaking to you, and I'm remembering things, and you know, I'll never forget. There was one person that was near the front of the stage in one of the venues. We had a mini Monsters of Rock type of show in a place called Bell Street Rock, and this one girl wasn't a big fan of mine, but that's okay, like I said. But I stopped the show and I pointed her out, and she basically got booed out of the club by all the fans, which was amazing. And I'll never forget it. And she got kicked out of the club in the end because everyone just turned to her, right? But I don't know whether she was either drunk or drug affected. I couldn't remember, to be quite honest with you. But it's just amazing that siege mentality when people are really into you, and then there's one person that isn't. They just don't like it. And then I've seen that happen not only with my bands but other bands. You know what I mean? And also, you know, there's another time where I'll never forget. There was another show we played in a place called St Kilda, and it was one of the more popular venues called the Seaview Ballroom, which a lot of the bigger bands used to play in the day. And I'll never forget, we were playing, and we had a great show, and the people were getting into it, so much so there was a couple near the front of the stage, and they were almost like literally going for it while we were playing live. And I'm like, well, and you know, and I'm pointed it out. I said, a couple here is very excited that we're here, and you know, and everyone was carrying on. So, you know, some great memories, some super memories. But you know, listen, I'm sure that you know, when we will get out here and play a few shows here to promote the latest release, and you know, we've got a fair few chunk of tunes to play. You know, I'm sure that we'd have a pretty healthy following, because there's a lot of people that haven't seen us for a while, and they'd be very probably excited to see us play live.
Yeah,
because you know, some of the people that got into the band after we really hadn't played live for a while, not that we split up. A lot of people got into the band afterwards, like recently, as in the last 3 years, 4 years, because we've released stuff. They turned around and are really bugging us to make sure that when we do play live, they come and see us. And that's exciting. I mean, that as a muso, you'd know, it's exciting when people are into you and they want to see you play live. I mean, it's a win-win, basically.
It is. It really is. It's very it makes it all worth it in the end, you know. All the times when you're racking your brain trying to get things ready and trying to get things recorded and everything, and then finally, you know, after all the hardships, that's the silver lining right there. That's the thing that really makes it all worth it in the end, you know.
Okay.
Yep. So
I'm hearing some grinding in the background.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I tell you, let's we can just go ahead and wrap it up here. I know that you've got merchandise, you've got music, you've got lots of things to that people would be interested in. So this is what we call the shameless plug portion of the evening, where You
problem.
shamelessly plug anything you'd like to shamelessly plug with no shamelessness spared and all shamelessness included. So have at it, Thanis.
Yeah, if anyone wants to purchase copies of our CDs, both the Brazen Whisper album and the new release of Silence of the Night, which is a remix and remaster turbo edition, we've called it. You can get it on a lot of the websites that hold that physical product, like your Import CD and Deep Discount, and there's a lot of websites it's that are hold stock, even Amazon for that matter. There's if you can't get it there, you can go to our webpage, our Facebook page, which is Frozen Tears, and you'll see a link there if you go onto Frozen Tears, and converse with us. Let us know what you think of the tunes. You can go onto Spotify or iTunes as well if you want to download the album. They're available through all the socials as far as that's concerned. We are going to release T-shirts and what have you of the band, imminently. Probably going to have a look at that stuff on Monday myself. I might even get one for you.
Okay.
When I do come to the US, so I can send it to you. So you've got
Sure.
to let me know. You got to DM me your details so we can see what we can do for you. And
Okay.
anything we're on. Like I said, we're on also on what do we call it? Instagram as well, and what else have we got? I'm sure we've got all those other. So we're probably even on Twitter, but not many. Twitter is probably not a biggest used medium these days. But like I said, Facebook is probably the best way of getting in touch with the band and listening to the band, and you can even purchase CDs from us directly if you like. The only thing is, it's probably best to wait to see when it's released locally in America, as in when they get stock, because I know they've already had some pre-orders on certain sites. When they receive stock from our record company here in Australia, because obviously it's not separately released. It's released worldwide, but it's obviously stock has to come from Australia to the US. Buying it directly from us, and then us having to pay some crazy CD prices of postage. It's like, I think it's about $20 to send one CD to America, because it has to be under the new laws. It has to be tracked and what have you. And I think it's so stupid, where it used to be $10 or $8.50. It's now $20 Australian, which is something like $15 US to send a CD. And that is crazy. It's crazy. So a lot of my friends, actually, I said to them, when I touch down next week in the US, I'll send it from the US to your thing, and then I'll pay probably 1/4 of the cost. So
sure. Oh yeah, and without a doubt.
Yeah. So in that sense, like I said, I mean, you can listen to the band on obviously all the socials and the radio stations that play us, including your one you playing obviously, and I just want to say thank you to everyone that's appreciated the band and like the band. We're humble, and we really are amazed that we can still touch people with the kind of music we play, and we only hope that the people's following increases along with people like yourself spreading the name. We appreciate that wholeheartedly, and can only say thank you 100 times over.
Absolutely. And folks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look everything up that Thanis just mentioned, and I'll get links, and I'll put the links to all these sites and everything in the show notes so you can find exactly how to get there and everything, so you can click on it. And thank you again so much for being with us. Again, I was very excited. I've loved the material. And folks, I think you will too. We have Thanis Akritidis here tonight with Frozen Tears. And thank you all for listening. And we will see you all next time. Hello, listeners. We at Fowl Players Radio thank you for all of your support over the past 10 seasons and nearly 300 episodes. We would like to encourage you to keep listening and spread the word. Audio versions of all episodes can be found on our main website, fowlplayersradio.com, as well as on many of the other platforms you can see here. You can find all of our Season 9 and 10 episodes, as well as some best-of episodes and shorts on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@fowlplayersradio. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to get alerts when new episodes are released. No matter what platform you choose to listen, you can help us greatly by hitting the subscribe button and giving us an honest review. You can also help us by supporting us at patreon.com/fowlplayersradio or at buymeacoffee.com/fowlplayerw. Your support makes it possible for us to continue to be your one-stop shop for all of your pop culture needs. Be sure to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for new episode announcements and news and updates on all of our guests. Thank you, and enjoy this episode. And folks, thanks again for tuning in tonight to Fowl Players Radio. Our guest was Thanis Akritidis of Melbourne, Australia band Frozen Tears. I had a great time talking to him about the album, about music in general, playing, being a couple of musicians. I really had a great conversation and enjoyed talking to him tonight. Links to his music and merch and everything are in the show notes. And please check it out. Please check it out. It's really well worth the listen. I'll tell you that, and I'll say no more. Find out for yourself. You won't be disappointed. If you're interested in professional comedic entertainment for your venue, fundraiser, or other event, please consider a murder mystery from the Fowl Players of Perryville, 443-600-0446, or fowlplayersperryville@yahoo.com. Our website is fowlplayersofperryville.com. Don't miss the Back of the Rack, the Michael Spedden Show on 97underground.com. Yes, me, Baltimore's pure rock worldwide. We feature songs that you forgot you liked, current and classic local rock, hard rock, and metal classics that never die, and up-and-coming bands. Tune in every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Listen on your computer or download the app so you can listen everywhere you go. 97underground.com. And we at Fowl Players Radio are proud to support artists, and we encourage you to consider shopping small and support them as well. Links to their books, albums, tickets to their show, and all their other stuff can be found in the show notes of every episode. We thank you for tuning in and listening. Remember, you can help us greatly. Click that like and subscribe button and give us a fair review. Our main website is fowlplayersradio.com, and our YouTube channel is youtube.com/@fowlplayersradio, and we can be found on many other platforms. And thank you all for tuning in this time, folks. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Thanis from Frozen Tears, and we will see you all next time. This is Michael Spedden signing off.